We're live. Hello, everyone. How are you all doing today? This is your host, ID Lady, on today's show on ID Lady channel here on YouTube, where we talk about mindset because this is our mindset series talk show, and we are going to be looking into overcoming obstacles and transforming challenges into opportunities. And today I have an amazing guest who's joining us from the United States, from Florida, precisely. And she's not a person than Sony Lashun, and she is a multi-talented artist. She's a songwriter, a speaker as well. She helps women and young girls to navigate their singlehood and also find life after divorce for divorcees. And I'm so excited to have her on the show. Thank you so much for joining us today, Miss Tony.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be on your show. This is the first show that I've done that is live in Africa, so it's very exciting.
Oh, this is interesting. I'm so excited to have you here, honestly. And I think this is my third time of having someone from United States join me here on my live show. Well, also on my Facebook handle and this now on my YouTube. Thank you so much for accepting to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here and share my story.
Okay, you're welcome. All right. Do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and challenges you have faced so far in life?
So my name is Tony LaShawn, and it's Tony LaShawn Wortherly. Tony LaShawn is my artist name. I'm a singer and songwriter. I live in Jacksonville, Florida, and I have been a Christian for most of my life. I've been a believer in Jesus Christ. I got saved when I was 6 years old. And even though I've been saved for most of my life, I have also faced a lot of challenges throughout my life. Right now, my main job, my day job is as an educator. But like I said, I'm also a singer songwriter, I'm an author, and I love to speak and share my story and the challenges that I've faced with my mental health throughout my lifetime and how that has helped my faith to grow, and has also helped me to encourage others. So when I was 23 years old, I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. I knew from the time that I was a young child that I was kind of different than everybody else. When I was a little kid, people kind of called me just a worry wart. And then as I got older, that turned into me being an insomniac. And then when I was 23, I was in a situation with a friend and they were supposed to meet me somewhere. And all of a sudden, I started having all these anxious, panicky thoughts. And I called that person over and over and over again. And at the time, I didn't realize that I had called them like 50 times, just trying to figure out where they were. And when I did finally reach them, they were not very happy with me for calling them so many times and for waking up their roommate and for calling their house and disturbing them. And that person called me crazy. And I started to think to myself, am I crazy? Is there something really wrong with me? And at the time, I was already in therapy because I was still dealing with insomnia and I was going through a divorce. And so I talked to my therapist about it, and he referred me to a psychotherapist who diagnosed me with generalized anxiety disorder. So that has been a mental health challenge that I've had to deal with for all of my life. It just got like a name when I was in my early 20s. And I've had to navigate how to continue to live my life and to live my purpose and to serve God while also facing and battling that challenge.
Oh, that's very interesting. Not having to have you here to share your story with us and how you were able to go through that. So how were you able to go through those challenging moments? What did you do that specifically things or what are the things you did that helped you to navigate during those challenges and see the things you are doing currently now that we are seeing?
So it's been a journey. Like I said, I got diagnosed at 23. The diagnosis was both a relief and it also kind of felt very limiting. As a Christian, I have always heard the Bible verse, don't be anxious for nothing. And so it was really hard for me to face the fact that the way my brain processes things, I was anxious all the time. And so it really honestly took me a good 20 plus years before I kind of got a handle on it. I've gone to therapy several times, and I definitely advocate for people to find a good mental health therapist. I've had some that were great, and I've had some that were not so great that kind of made me want to give up on therapy. When needed, I've had to take medication, and I know that I don't know how it is in Africa, but for African Americans, for Black people in America, mental health, there's a stigma attached to it, especially if you have to be on medication. Like the person called me, people think that you're crazy if that's something that you have going on in your life. But 1 in 4 people in America deal with some sort of anxiety disorder. And so it's not something that is uncommon. And it's not something where people should look at it as, oh, I'm crazy and I'm so different and there's no hope for me. There absolutely is hope. And I try to tell people one of my main missions is to let people know that they're not alone on that journey. So um, in 2023, I started seeing my therapist, the current therapist that I have, and he helped me to develop a system for dealing with my anxiety when it comes up. And so it basically took everything that I learned while I was in therapy, and I've been trying to help other people. I'm not a therapist, I'm a person who actually deals with these issues. And these
Okay.
are the things that have been helpful for me. And so I have like a 3-step battle plan when you're dealing with, it could be anxiety or it could be any other like unpleasant emotion, because the bottom line is we all have emotions and we all have to
Yep.
deal with them. But sometimes our emotions get a little bit out of control, like they do if you have just if you have a mental health challenge or issue with concerning that particular emotion. Like if you're sad for a really extended period of time, that may lead to depression. If you're anxious for an extended period of time and it's really intense, then you may have an anxiety disorder. But for everyone, every day we deal with emotions. We deal with sadness, and we deal when we have joy, and we have fear, and we have anger, and we have all of those things. But if they're left unchecked, or if we try not to deal with them, which I'll get into in a minute, was one of my issues. We try to ignore them, then it can snowball and get into this really big issue. So the first step that I had to do, which was the step I was not doing, was listening to my anxiety, or listen to the emotion that you're having. We have emotions for a reason. They're trying to tell us
Okay.
something,
Something
right?
about us.
Right. And
Yeah.
so they're trying to tell you that this is a great moment. They're trying to tell you this is a scary moment. They're trying to protect you from something. Anxiety is usually like a protection um, emotion. Okay. And so we have to actually listen to what they're saying. I found when I was going through therapy that when I listened to what anxiety was telling me, the anxiety that I had was 100% wrong, like all the time. Like the things that my brain were coming up with that could possibly happen, none of them have ever happened. And so when I actually stopped ignoring what my brain was telling me and started actually listening to the very, very creative, but very, very ridiculous things that my brain was saying, I realized, okay, I can confront what is being perpetuated with the truth. But I couldn't do that until I started to actually stop and listen. Like my therapist was like, "What are you thinking about now?" And for the first few sessions, I was very scared to tell him about the things that were going through my head, because a lot of times it's dark and scary. But as I started to actually express it, he helped me to figure out, okay, like what is the actual possibility of this happening? Your brain is telling you the worst possible thing that can happen. Why not think about the best possible thing that could happen out of this situation?
Yeah, that's like the plus to the negative thoughts you are having with the positive thoughts.
Right. And so kind of turn that thing on its head. And not only that, but know the truth, know what's really truly going on. For me, as a Christian, the truth for me comes from God's word. And so I'm able to confront things with God's word. At the time when I was in therapy, I had gone through several deaths of people in my life that were very close to me. I was turning 45 and I was realizing that my life didn't look how I thought it was going to look, but I never allowed myself the time to grieve that. And so what ended up happening was that the grief that I had over those things, over even though the people who passed away, they couldn't stop themselves from dying, like it felt like they had abandoned me, right? And then just looking at my life and looking at the things that I wanted to do versus what my life looked at, I felt kind of like left out or left behind. And those were the feelings that my anxiety was speaking to me, like, you're going to be abandoned, you're going to be left out, you're going to be alone, no one cares about you, all of these things. And I had to confront that with the truth. First and foremost, God loves me. And
Of
if
course. He
no
loves
one
you
else
so
did,
much.
and if no one else did, that's all that matters, is that God loves me. And I'm his, and he's never going to leave me or forsake me. So I'll never be abandoned. I'll never be forsaken. I'll never truly be alone. And that he knows what's best for me. So I'm not being left out and I'm not being left behind. He knows exactly the right timing for each part of my life. And so when I listened, I was able to learn from the anxiety, which was the second part, learning that what I was really fearing, what the anxiety was really trying to protect me from, is trying to protect me from being hurt, is trying to protect me from feeling left out, from feeling left behind, from feeling abandoned. And then once I had that in place, then I could take the third step, which is doing steps to limit anxiety. So, like I said before, everybody deals with anxiety. So, like, it's not everybody has an anxiety disorder, but everybody deals with anxiety. If you have a big test coming up, or if you have to give a speech, or if you have like a big meeting coming up at work, or if you're going through a medical crisis, or if you're going through like some sort of financial issue, everybody gets anxious. When you
Of
have an
course.
anxiety disorder, that anxiety is more intense and it lasts longer. And so sometimes you have to have some sort of grounding technique to help limit that anxiety. One of my favorite grounding techniques is just gratitude. I used to be so scared of this verse right here, be anxious for nothing. And I would stop there, be anxious for nothing. And I was like, well, I'm anxious about everything. So, Lord, I'm like, I don't know what to do because I'm anxious about everything. And you're telling me to be anxious about nothing. And I don't know how to do that. But as I kept reading, it says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything with prayer and thanksgiving, make your requests known to God. And so
Yeah. 4 6.
it's not that anxiety is not going to come up. It's that when it does come up, we have an outlet. We have something we can do. God wants to hear all about all of the things that are on our mind. Yes, He knows our thoughts, but He loves when we come to Him and share with Him. And so I always advocate for people. Yes, I advocate for therapy. If you have people who are close to you to talk to, but there's nothing that compares to being able to get down on your knees or fall on your face or lay in your bed or whatever your posture is. Doesn't matter what your physical posture is, it's what your heart posture is, and just pour your heart out to God because He wants to know all the things, the big things and the small things. But it's not just like a gripe session. It's also about gratitude. It's also about recognizing all of the great things that God does in your life on a daily basis. Like I have a song called 100,000 Heartbeats because a few years ago I found out that every single day our heart on average beats 100,000 times. And I was astonished by that fact because I was like, that's a lot. 100,000 is a lot.
Of
And
course.
yeah, and if one of those heartbeats doesn't happen, you're going to be in a world of trouble. And if you think about it, like that is 8 billion people in the world. There's 8 billion people in the world, and we each have 100,000 heartbeats every day. And God is making sure that our heart beats that many times every day. And it's such a big thing that seems like a small thing, so we take that for granted. We take 20,000 breaths every day. How often do we thank God for every breath that we're able to take, especially if we're able to breathe on our own, right? That is something to be grateful for. We look at it as a little thing, but what happens if we stop breathing, right? That is, we are no longer living, or we're living via a machine. So, yeah. So we have to kind of step back, and yes, we can pour your heart out to God and tell him all of the things that are going on, but also take time to be grateful for everything that he does for us. And when we do that gratitude, it brings us back into the moment, which grounds us, and that helps to limit our anxiety or any emotion that you're dealing with. Because usually if your emotions are getting out of control, it's because you're thinking too far in the past or you're thinking too far ahead in the future. And in the Bible, it tells us to not worry about tomorrow because today has enough problems for itself. So we have to stay here in the present if we want to limit our emotions from getting out of control. For me, I speak to it from a point of view of anxiety because that has been the emotion that I have had to battle. But for anyone who's dealing with anxiety or depression or anger issues or insomnia or anything, you can just listen to your body, listen to your emotions, learn from it, and then learn some strategies to try to limit that.
Oh wow, that's interesting. Oh, I so much appreciate you sharing that because actually, there was a few days ago I was chatting with a friend of mine and she was asking me questions on how she can deal with anxiety. I don't really have the perfect answer for that. But the only thing I told her was to make sure she meets a therapist. And I've not really checked out. I've not checked on her to see if she actually met a therapist or not. But with what you have shared today on this live section, I'm very much convinced. I'm going to send her the link to this video, or I don't know if she have joined us. And if she didn't join us, I'm going to send her the link to this video because she needs to watch it. She needs to hear from you and know how you were able to deal with yours because the stories you shared here, the advice you gave, solutions you gave is quite amazing. I mean, it's very, very good, and I really do appreciate you for doing that for us. One paramount thing I actually take from this was that you were able to listen to your emotions and you understand that emotions are what we have to experience as normal human beings, and you taking the right step because some people here, especially in Africa, can have such emotions, and because they are not ready to listen to their emotions, they don't have access to therapists who can meet mental health professionals, so that they're going to help them to, go through that process, to go through that healing, and they go crazy, and people tend to discriminate them. I can remember some time ago, a particular actress was sharing her journey about her mental health disorder. I think her name was Chacha AK, a Nigerian actress here from Nollywood. She shared her story, and that was when people began to see the other side of mental health. And she had been this one woman here in Nigeria that I'm very much aware she always run this campaign on mental health, and she's doing quite amazing well in that. And once again, I so much appreciate you for sharing your insight with us on anxiety and how you were able to go through it. Do you mind sharing any other stories or how you deal or how you are going through the journey of divorce, or maybe some other time if you're not comfortable sharing it to us here now?
So, when growing up, I always wanted to be married. My parents have been married for almost 51 years. They've been together for 52 years. And just growing up watching how they love each other, like that's always was always a goal of mine to be married. And this is something that I've shared before on in other interviews. Now that I'm older and I look back, I realize that my marriage was a result of my anxiety. Like, I got
Oh,
married because I was so anxious about not meeting someone who would want to marry me and not becoming a mother and not becoming like, I was so anxious that I was going to be so behind.
so
And
what were you anxious about it? Like, I don't understand. What made you to be anxious about getting married?
So like I said, this is looking back on it. Like in the moment, I didn't realize that it was like anxiety that was driving it. But I was like, my mom got married when she was 18 and my sister got married when she was 19. So when I was 20 and I wasn't married, I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm an old maid.
Oh,
Like, what am I?
I understand where this is
I
coming
was
from.
20 years old. I was barely an adult, but I just felt like if I don't get married soon, like it's never going to happen and my life will be ruined because I won't be married and all of these things. And like, that's one of those things where I look back now and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was my emotions were out of control at that point in my life to lie to me in such a way that first and foremost that being married would improve my life or make my life better than if I was single, so to speak, because I do feel like marriage would add to my life, but like I also don't have a terrible life as a single person. So I got married when I was 21 years old. I'm now 47. I got divorced when I was 23. So I've been divorced for over half of my life. And I have a great life. Like I still desire to be married. I still desire to fall in love with someone, a godly someone. I have a vision about who I want to be with. But what has happened in this time that I've been single is first and foremost, my relationship with Christ has grown immensely. And that's the main way that I have navigated the challenge of being single. When I was younger, being single felt like a death sentence to me. Like it was like like who would want to be single? Okay. Okay. So I wanted to be anything but single, like not single. I wanted to be married. I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to have a career. I did not want to be single because I just felt like I would die. I did. I just felt like it would be the death of me to not have a husband. Well, I'm still here, so it didn't kill me. I've been single way longer than I've been married. I was only married for a year and 8 months. So like um and I've only been in 3 real actual relationships during my life. And my last relationship was ended over 16 years ago. So God has shown me that like being single is not going to be the death of me, but the amount of work that he has done in and through me that I don't know would have happened had I stayed married, or maybe if I had never gotten married to that person, but got married at a different time that wasn't God's timing. I've been able to achieve so many things that I never dreamed about because my main focus was on not being single. Like that was my main goal was get my law degree and get married. Those are like from the time I was 8 years old. That's all I cared about was getting my JD and my MRS degree. Get a law degree, get married, be a lawyer, be a power couple, do all these things. I don't practice law and I'm not married. I do have my law degree and I use it every day in my job as an educator, but my life looks so different than what I saw it as an 8-year-old and then as an 18-year-old and even as a 28-year-old. Like every phase of my life has been different than what I envisioned, but I have a great life. I have been able to explore my musical side. I've been able to go to retreats. I've been able to, for songwriting, I've been able to write with a bunch of different people. I've been able to release music that I never thought that I would do that. I always pictured myself being more of a behind the scenes person and doing the writing and singing at church, but not like singing, not being an artist and going out and performing in other places. That's not something that I saw for myself. I've written books that never would have been written if I hadn't been on the journey that I went on. And so I'm not going to sit here and pretend like there's not days when I'm sad that I don't have a mate. But I know from the situation that I was in when I was married that I would be much more sad if I was in a relationship with the wrong person at the wrong time. And so right now at this point in my life, I'm trusting God, but I'm also I think a thing that people get a little mixed up with is, you know, people say wait on God and people think that wait means not being active. And
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
Take that alone.
I heard a preacher say this once, that when the Bible tells you like to wait on the Lord, you need to think of wait as like a waiter in a restaurant. What do? They're serving you.
Of
So
course.
waiting doesn't mean like sitting in my house waiting for my husband to knock on my door and come sweep me off my feet. Although, Lord, if you're listening, that would be ideal. But wait means I need to live my life. I need to live my life. I need to live the life that God gave me. I need to use the gifts that God gave me. I need to use the talents that God gave me. I need to use the time that God gave me. And so that's what I've been trying to focus on, is living the life that's in front of me instead of mourning the life that I thought I'd have. And once I gave myself, and this was another thing that I discovered in therapy, once I gave myself a moment to grieve and say, okay, this is what I thought my life was going to look like. This is not what my life looks like. And I'm sad about that. And that's okay. But here is what my life does look like. And here are all the great things about my life. And so I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on what's great about my life and what God is doing in and for and through me in this moment. And I'm still believing, because that desire is still within me, that God put that desire in my heart to be married. And I'm still believing for that husband that I have, that he's given me the vision for having, and for a family. People think I'm crazy because I'm 47. They're like, okay, yeah, you're going to be a mom. You're 47. I see it. I believe it. God spoke it. He said it. I believe it. It's going to come to be. Is it going to be in the way that I envisioned it? No, because God does exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask, think, or imagine. So if I imagined all of these great things to happen, what God sees for me is so much greater that my mind couldn't even comprehend it. And when I focus on that, that's what helps me do. So for all my single girlies, it is not the end of the world to be single.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. Thank you.
The end of the world. Build your relationship with Christ. That is my number one piece of advice. Build your relationship with Christ. Read the Bible, study the Bible, meditate on his word, find comfort and joy and peace and love in him first. Because if you can't do that, no relationship that you ever have is going to work out the way that you want it to work out.
Mhm.
And you have to love yourself. And you have to
Self-love
forgive
is so
yourself.
important.
Yes. And you have to know yourself. And because if you don't love you, then why would anyone else want to love you? Right?
Not at all.
So love God, love yourself, be the kind of person that you would want to be in a relationship with, right? And just work, grow, live your life. Your life is beautiful, whether you're single, whether you're married, whether you're divorced, whether you're widowed. Your life is beautiful because God gave it to you and he makes everything beautiful in his own time. So you are not lacking anything. God is not holding anything back. I tell people all the time, whether we're dealing with, you know, emotions surrounding like being anxious, or whether you're sad or depressed because you're single, the enemy's oldest trick, like from Genesis, is trying to convince us that God is holding out on us, and he is not. God will never hold back anything from you that is for you. So if you don't get it, it's not for you. And I know that's easier
Exactly.
said than done, but you just have to, it's helped me so much, especially recently when things have happened where I've been disappointed. I just say, if it was for me, I would have it, because God is not going to hold back any good thing from me. And if I don't get it, if that's a no, then that means God is saying, not yet. I got something better.
Okay. Uh-huh. That's it. That's it. That's it. Okay, the one thing, one of you have said so many things. Like you said so many amazing things for the question now, but this is something that got me thinking, and something I picked, and I don't just pick it for the audience. I picked this for myself as well. Is that if you don't get it, that means it's not for you, and God is not gonna hold back anything that He knows is good for you, because our God is such a loving and amazing God that loves His children so much that He is ready to give us anything that we desire and anything that we want. And He is always waiting for the best time, the best opportunity, the best period of time He knows we are going to be able to manage that before giving it to us. And this is one thing I hold strongly from this show today. And I'll always talk about this next time. I'm sure going to make it I'm going to reflect on that later in the day. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us and how you were able to deal with divorce and getting married, gives you anxiety, and having to share your story. But it's not everyone that can freely share the story with us here on the channel. And I believe whoever that is watching us today on the show or whoever is going to watch this video after now will be learning something that is going to help them in their life, because you said something very spectacular, something very unique here, that as a single person, while you are waiting on God, you should also be someone who is doing something with your life. Live your life, do the things you're supposed to do, get into your career, do the things you love to do, build yourself to become that woman or that man that you want to be in that relationship with. And it's such an amazing word. And I believe our audience today who are watching us are getting something out of it. And if you did try, please listen to what Tony Leshon said today on our show and learn to practice it. Like you said, when you are having some anxiety issues, when you are having to deal with your emotional problems, and you need to go meet a therapist, you need to listen to what the therapist is telling you, and you need to practice. Just like she did, listen to her emotions, go and meet a therapy, and remember that God is always in here to hear you. No matter how you want to communicate your ideas to him, no matter how you want to communicate your problems to him. Sometimes what I do is I just lay on my bed and I'm just like, God, I'm just so tired now. I don't know what to do. Look at what I'm passing through. Look at this. Look at my worries. I'm just talking to him like my father, and I know he hears me, and he answers me, that same way. I try to communicate to him. I just make it like a prayer section, praying, praying, praying. I just talk to him and tell him my fears. After that, I just sleep. I just sleep and wake up refreshed. I'm free from all the worries, and it's so refreshing. And I encourage everyone who is watching us today to make sure they do that. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and reach out to Tony Lesson channel as well to check out her music, to check out her book, to check out what she teaches about girls and women on how they can, build themselves and how they can go through their life journey as women, as mothers, as young single girls who are desiring to become successful in life and also to live your life fulfilling purpose and building themselves and doing the things they love to do. So once again, I really do appreciate you, Tony Lashun, for joining us on today's show. I really do appreciate. Thank you so much for sharing your journey, your struggles, and how you were able to thrive through them today on the channel with us. I really do appreciate.
I really appreciate being here and thank you for the opportunity to share.
You're welcome. Okay, we'll be going here now. We'll end the show here, and I hope to see you again on one of my shows, maybe next series or next year when I call on you. Please do answer me.
All right.
All right. Take care of yourself. Have a nice day, guys. All right. Bye.